So once you got your tent all set up and it's tensioned the way you want it and you're happy it's ready to put items into the tent. And so the main thing that I like to do is I usually just take the vestibule and roll it back. And there's usually a little elastic and a little clip here. And I usually just go ahead and open this up. And if there's no bugs, I'll do the same with the mesh, just get it out of the way so that I can take things in and out and not have to be constantly opening and closing. And for me, the pad that I use is a closed cell foam, and this is a Gossamer Gear pack. And what I really like about that is they do have a minimal internal frame, but this really my pad serves as the overall structure of this pack, the padding for the back of the pack, as well as kind of like the frame sheet. And so again, it's a double duty sort of thing, just like using the trekking poles as my tent poles. So this is my sleeping pad. I get one that's just like a torso length. That's enough for me for summer hiking. If it is going to be colder, I will sometimes use an inflatable pad, but I always carry this to go underneath it. That just helps protect that inflatable pad from punctures. But when I thru hike, I almost never carry an inflatable pad especially by itself, because if it pops, then you're just laying on the ground. You have no insulation. This, I could literally tear it in half and duct tape it back together and it still works just as well. So the sleeping bag goes on the bottom and then your other items go on top. This pack isn't completely loaded for a hike, but in general, what I use is a trash compactor bag, which is a little thicker than a trash bag, as my waterproof pack liner. And that's where like my extra clothes, my food, pretty much everything goes in there. And then I store my sleeping bag in a waterproof sack if I think it's going to be potentially rainy. And that goes on the bottom. And for me, I personally like to use down sleeping bags most of the time, but they do have their limitations, especially in wet environments. But by and large, I really like the down just because it's lighter. And I sleep really cold. So typically, when I'm picking out a sleeping bag, I'm going to look for a sleeping bag that is properly rated to the temperatures I expect to have, and you want to look for an actual ISO rating. Now, a little bit about the ISO ratings. Usually when it's an ISO rated bag, it has 3 ratings: the comfort rating, the extreme rating, and then your survival rating. Since this is a women's bag, this rating here is probably more on the middle extreme rating, because women tend to sleep anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees colder than most men. But a lot of times if a bag is a unisex or a men's bag, this number is actually going to be more like your, this is going to be the comfort rating on a women's bag. On a men's bag, it's going to be more like their extreme rating. So for me, if I'm not purchasing a women's bag, if I'm purchasing like a unisex or a men's bag, I'm going to look for a bag that is rated about 10 degrees colder than what I expect to have. So a 30-degree women's bag is going to be really suitable for me, but for 3-season hiking. So summer, fall, and spring. But if this was like a unisex or a men's bag, I would look for something that's rated to about 20 degrees. If you're using a down bag, the first thing you want to do when you get it out is to really shake it around, because down tends to clump when it's been crammed into a stuff sack all day or just into your pack all day, and you'll end up with cold spots because the down will clump and not keep you warm universally. That is one of the benefits to the synthetic, is that it doesn't get that clumping, so you don't have to worry about it as much. And then usually on a thru hike, the next thing goes in the tent is me. The bag goes in with me, and I don't leave the tent because then I get in my sleeping bag and I do everything else from inside my bag where I can be nice and warm for the rest of the evening. So one of the other things that you might be wondering about is what you use for a pillow. When I hike, I do often use an inflatable backcountry pillow, but it's not essential. Some people like them. For many years, what I used is just basically the stuff sack from my sleeping bag, and then I would just put all of my extra clothes and that trash compactor bag, whatever was kind of soft and fluffy that I wasn't using to sleep in, would go back into this, and then you just cinch it shut and you've got your pillow for the night. Also, what I always do is I have one outfit that I hike in. Usually I hike in a dress, and that's what I hike in all day long. And then I have one other set of clothes, and that's what I sleep in. It also serves as like emergency clothing in case I get into a survival situation and have to have dry clothes. But I at all costs, it's just like the sleeping bag. I keep those clothes dry. I don't get them out unless I absolutely must. And typically I just sleep in them. And it's usually just like a set of base layers, long sleeve, long pants. And I either use a lightweight fleece or a wool base layers. Wool is a little bit more preferable because it doesn't tend to stink and it's just more comfortable to be in, but fleece is usually lighter. One myth you might hear about, I don't even know if it's really a myth, it's just this idea that you should sleep naked in your sleeping bag because it's warmer. And I don't know if it's warmer or not, but it definitely can lead to damaging the bag because your skin touching, especially a down bag, will end up leaching your dirt and your grime, sunscreen, the bug spray, the sweat, all of that, your body oils, into the fabric of your bag and eventually into the feathers of the down, which can cause those to clump and not be as warm and lofting as they were before you got them all dirty.